Today, we are going to talk all about Worldcoin, this dystopian, almost nightmarish crypto that just launched yesterday. And I'm going to give you guys my whole opinion on not only what it is, we'll give you the full breakdown of the technology, as well as how I'm actually going to play this coin. Now, even though it's very weird, we're all very scared from it, and there are clear red flags, I think there's still a decent opportunity there on the short side. But just because you hate something and it seems very weird doesn't mean you should just go short it to zero right away, because prices can always fluctuate. So I'll give you guys my whole plan on how I plan to play this on the short side, and I'll give you some indicators as well, and we'll look into the numbers of the fully diluted valuation and also how that will actually play out on the exchanges when the perpetual markets, when the short markets come on. Okay, so how is everyone doing? Let's check in the chats and just to see. Interesting future narrative. Yeah, so the future's there, and the funding rate is really what you want to watch for. So we'll talk about that in the end. Good morning from Tehran. I see Claire, Savage Trader, David, Stevens, Rebecca, a lot of new faces here. Abdeen says 1% circulating supply. Yeah, that's the biggest red flag, but we'll get into the whole shebang, the whole breakdown of this strategy. Okay, let's get into it. Second, let me get over here. Okay, so what is Worldcoin, right? What is this project? Why is it so bizarre? So on their main website, you can read their direct introduction about themselves. So the Worldcoin is building a more human economic system. And here, basically, Worldcoin aims to establish universal access to the global economy, regardless of country or background. It's designed to become the world's largest human identity and financial network, giving ownership to everyone with the intention of welcoming every person on the planet and establishing a place for all of us to benefit in the age of AI. So there's a lot of things there. The vision kind of makes sense, right? So there are three main parts of the project. So there is the World app, which is a wallet, crypto wallet by itself that has the Worldcoin and probably other cryptos as well, and the dollar. And there is the Worldcoin token that just went live yesterday. And there is the where is it? There is the World ID here, which is a they call anonymous ID that can link you to your own personhood by using these devices of these orb scanners to scan your iris to make sure you're a real person. Right away, that sounds very alarming, but we'll get into that. So first of all, why are they even doing this, right? This is all because of this concept that they call proof of personhood in the age of AI. So basically, with the rapid advancement of AI, it's becoming much, much harder to differentiate between AI-generated person versus a real person. People are starting to post like AI-generated content, and even today, if I wanted to, I could upload a bunch of data and just have deep fake create fake versions of me that talks with my face and with my voice and just says whatever they want. It's not that good yet. It's not completely indistinguishable between the real person, but it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. I've seen it even in crypto influencers channels. So this is kind of what they want to do with this proof of personhood through scanning your eyes and the World ID. So it connects everyone in the world that has a smartphone, which is way more people in the world has a smartphone than those that have a bank account or have actual identification. And they really want to onboard people onto this system by, weirdly enough, scanning people's eyeballs. So another part of why they want to do this, right, first of all, is limiting the number of accounts each individual can create to protect against online attacks from, pseudonymous identities, and then preventing realistic looking and sounding AI generated content, right? And there is also one other potential that I read here. So yeah, in the World app side, by enabling this proof of personhood, they actually also want to eventually distribute a global digital currency and ultimately a path to AI-funded UBI. So UBI stands for Universal Basic Income, which is a pretty old idea. Actually, it's quite dystopian, but a lot of Silicon Valley VC and capitalists have been playing around with this idea that by the end of technology advancement, where there's so much abundant wealth in the world, it's all about just distribution. So as long as you can verify each person as being unique and actually a real person, you could just distribute basic income, that they can support themselves with universally, universal basic income, UBI. So that's the whole kind of gist of this project. And this project is also founded by none other than Sam Altman and Alex Belania, who is not as well known, but Sam Altman is the CEO and founder of OpenAI, and also he was the founder of Y Combinator, probably the most famous accelerator in the world. And way back in the day, actually, OpenAI used to be co-founded by Sam Altman and Elon Musk, but Elon Musk has now since gone off to do his own thing because he didn't believe in OpenAI's visions anymore. But regardless, we'll talk about Sam Altman's involvement with this project as well. So how is this project doing right now? What happened during the launch? So basically the token went live and people started going all around the world to scam people for their eyeballs and actually eventually collect some crypto coins. So here you can see a short video of how this actually works, kind of just at the gist of it. So basically there are these iris scanner spots set up in the world, right, where people can go and they downloaded their Worldcoin app, they scan the QR code, and then they actually put their eyes up on the scanner and it scans them. Pretty crazy, right? But it is happening. And you see these people that are operating as scanners. These are not all Worldcoin employees. These are actually some of the community operators, which is also even more weird, right? So right now there are 1,500 of these orbs scanners distributed around 35 cities and 25 countries over 5 continents. Pretty big worldwide, actually. Lisbon, Buenos Aires, Madrid, Nairobi, you name it. Okay. And then they, in order to do this launch, what they had is this Worldcoin operator program, which is essentially like scan to earn. It's a very crypto model. So basically, you can apply to become a Worldcoin operator, and they'll give you one of these orb devices. And then you go around, you set up shop in your local city, and then you just start scanning people's eyeballs and collect crypto. And because you onboard people, right, the people that you scan also get a little bit of free crypto. So you and them both get free coins, and it's just scan to earn. It's Ponzi-nomics all over again. Okay, so that's how they're doing this. And if you really want to do this, you can become one of these, Worldcoin operators today, and they'll give you a free orb. Okay, so let's get into some of the more kind of nitty-gritty and what I found to be weird about this project, right? So first of all, I want to shift back to Sam Altman and his involvement in this project. And I want to show you this clip, this interview that he did with Bankless probably a couple of weeks ago. So these two are the main co-founders. So here's Sam Altman and here's Alex Belania. So it really the first alarming sign to me that it seems like Sam Altman doesn't seem to be very involved with this project. So throughout this 1 hour long interview, Sam didn't say much about Worldcoin, about like the technical implementation, how they're going to do this, how they're expanding the ecosystem and how they're getting these orbs worldwide. It's really just this Alex guy explaining everything. And then Sam Altman came in the beginning and he kind of explained why this idea was interesting to him. So I'll show you, I'll let you listen to this.
The idea of Worldcoin, where it came from, and what the aha moment about why we need something like Worldcoin in the future. I started thinking initially that it would be quite powerful if you could have the biggest network, like the biggest financial and identity network imaginable. You could have something truly global, and sort of had no good ideas about how to do that. The first version when we started talking about this was something like, well, what if we scan the palm of everybody on Earth? Or what if we did all these other, like what if a lot of complicated ideas about how to verify identity. But the reason I was excited about it is as the world sort of heads towards powerful AI systems, I thought that if we could do something to eventually redistribute wealth through some sort of global UBI at scale, or maybe even access to these systems, which would be the most important component of wealth someday, and also be able to verify unique humanness with a different lens on how to preserve privacy, that would be more important as sort of AI advanced. So I started thinking about this years ago.
Yeah, so basically, this is his extent of interest in this project. It's kind of like a side project of his where he likes this idea. He likes, because he's so big into AI, and OpenAI and ChatGPT really just changed everything, changed the whole world. He's recognizing this like global problem. And then this guy came to him and said, okay, we can integrate UBI in it. We can use the crypto Ponzi-nomics to create this scan to earn, scan people's eyeballs to create the biggest digital identity network in the world for UBI, and it's private and all that jazz. And he just seems to be interested. And then throughout this whole thing, he pretty much sat there quiet. And then I'll give you here a little bit of other context here.
Sam, what's your more like day-to-day involvement with the Worldcoin project? Maybe it's not day-to-day, but like where does your rubber meet the pavement with Worldcoin?
Kind of whatever Alex needs. I try to, and the rest of this team. But what that looks like varies a lot, and I try to just sort of help anywhere I can. But there's no sort of specific like, oh, this is like my area or my project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically he said he's not involved. It's pretty crazy how this went. Like, I tried to watch this whole thing, and this whole time I wanted Sam Altman to really say something about, how this is gonna work with OpenAI and how this would be great for AI, because he's an AI guy, right? If he integrates this actually into OpenAI, that would be huge. But he didn't say anything. He actually didn't say anything about that. So that's kind of weird. And basically here he confirmed that he doesn't do much at the company. He provides resources. He likes this idea, and he's a co-founder on paper, but that's about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually just this didn't work. And for his scale of a entrepreneur, I would expect that to be okay, because he's actually so established. Okay, so that's that. That's firstly something I found to be really weird. Now, secondly, there are kind of three main problems that people are starting to bring up. So first problem with privacy, and second is decentralization, and third is these exploitation of irises, people's identity and irises for money. So we'll cover all of them. But here, let me give you kind of couple breakdowns. So here is what Worldcoin says that how they're going to protect people's privacy. So images collected by the orbs are promptly deleted unless explicitly requested by the person signing up. They use ZK proofs, zero knowledge proofs, that allow people to share specific information such as proof of unique personhood without disclosing any additional personal data. This is true. This is doable, and it's all technically outlined in their paper. World ID is designed to be completely disconnected from a person's biometric data, including their iris code. World ID currently uses an open source protocol known as Semaphore to ensure that verifications are pseudonymous and cannot be tracked to a person's identity. Okay, so basically, everything around privacy is there initially in the Orb device, and they even use ZKP, which is good in crypto's eyes. But to be honest, as long as this data is there, as long as you know that there's this company controlling it, and this company is founded by Sam Altman, and it's closely related to OpenAI, and the biggest thing that they could use is a huge database of all the people in the world, to how to identify them, how to track them. It's just, it's the weirdest person to be kind of working on this initiative, that no matter what they say, it just sounds weird, right? So that's initially my thoughts. And then Vitalik also came out with some concerns around how they're going to do this and this proof of personhood biometric system. So here are some summaries of Vitalik's concerns. I think he outlined 4 main problems with this. So here. Vitalik commented on the privacy side. So even though the system currently only stores hash versions of iris scans and not the actual images, and aims to protect user identity with ZK snarks and other cryptographic techniques, there is an inherent risk of identity-related information being misused or leaked. Vitalik said, at the very least, if someone else scans your iris, they can check it against the database to determine whether or not you have a world ID. So this is true. They even said so in their original orb FAQ, I think. Yeah, they have a lot of information here. Can I find it? I can't find it. But basically, in their original FAQ, they compared this to the Apple Face ID and Apple's Vision Pro's. They also had a Optics ID, I think it's what it's called. So Vision Pro, the Apple's AR device, also scans your eyeballs. But how they differentiate between each other is that Face ID is stored locally and it only tracks your device, right? And it only allows you to access your device. Your device handles all of that. It's there alone. And then Vision Pro's Optics ID is kind of the same thing, but it just scans your eyeballs, right? So you put it on, and Optics ID scans your eyeballs and knows it's you. So that device alone knows it's you, and it unlocks it and it gives you shows you your access, whatever. But with World ID, even though they use CKP, they use all this privacy features, it is still a one-to-many kind of identity system where once your iris is scanned, it is uploaded to this cloud, to this database. And even though the real image is not stored, there is still a hash stored, which means the next time someone scans your ID, scans your eyes, they can figure out if you have a World ID or not. And there's a lot of information there that could be exploited. So this is the first privacy concern. Okay. So Vitalik said more here. Accessibility concerns. Users needing to physically access a Worldcoin orb to participate, which limits the project's reach. Unless enough orbs were created so that anyone could easily access one, it could lead to an imbalance of Worldcoin distribution, favoring urban centers where orbs are likely to be more available. So this actually highlights something very bizarre that I found in a couple months ago. So this is the third problem that I just explained earlier on, which is the exploitation of people's irises for money. So think about this. If people don't have access to these orbs, which are super expensive devices in third world countries, what's going to happen there? Well, there are a ton of people. Everyone has eyeballs and iris. So what happened was, there were these black markets for Worldcoin credentials popping up in China back in May. Basically, these guys, right? These Chinese guys, they took these orbs that were available in China and they went to Cambodia, and they started scanning villages of Cambodia. Each villager scanned their iris, and they paid them $20 USDT. This is pretty crazy. So this market definitely is there, and 20 USDT is a lot of money for them. For sure they would do this. They don't even need to know what it is. And this started popping up. And remember, this was back in May when the project wasn't even live. So the earning wasn't even that good. And people were already scanning it because they knew that there was going to be an airdrop of the Worldcoin token when it launches to every World App ID that has a real KYC and a real set of eyes scanned. So this was already being done. Now imagine now that the Worldcoin is already live and it's trading at $25 billion valuation, how much more of this is going to go on for years to come? Like, this is pretty crazy to think about. If you don't actually distribute these Worldcoins, Worldcoin orb scanners to the third world countries, to the edges of the world where this kind of digital identity system can actually be useful, then it just becomes a more dystopian game where the orbs are only available to first world, second world countries, and then these guys are going to bring these orbs to third world countries to scan them and then like collect the money for themselves. That's a huge problem, actually, and it's kind of Axie Infinity all over again. We might even have like scan to earn guilds and these like coalitions popping up. That's just not a good look, and it defeats the whole purpose of identifying real humans, because these villagers are clearly not within the World app ecosystem, and they don't have access to that like technically available crypto app with payments and etc. with free money. So this is the second big problem that Vitalik outlined. The third problem was centralization. So basically the integrity of Worldcoin's orb hardware device and construction, they cannot be verified. And there could be backdoors built in, especially if the company is the one controlling it instead of a decentralized organization. And even if the software layer is decentralized, the Worldcoin Foundation has the potential to insert a backdoor and create fake human identities. So all in all, these guys are really not that crypto native, and you really cannot trust them to be so focused on the decentralization part. In fact, I looked into what they said about decentralization plans, and here is their primer on their blog. So there's a lot of jibber jabber about why they're doing this, and here is their path to decentralization. Decentralization has always been central to Worldcoin's vision: create universal access. Initial focus is on decentralization fundamentals, building blocks for further decentralization. We're going to build, experiment, iterate. Projects can focus too heavily on decentralization end state and neglect the crucial early first steps. Okay, and they outline a couple of things here. So current status: Worldcoin has a foundation established to enable DAO-based priority setting for the protocol. What does that mean? So it was like you have a voting, you have a DAO, cool, okay. And then they want to transfer the IP to the foundation, and then grants program establish its initial DAO setup. This really doesn't mean anything, right? So what does that mean? The foundation is them. So the IP is going to still be owned by them. Grants program, this is like every layer 1, layer 2 ecosystem has a grants program where they just fund more initiatives for themselves. Initial DAO setup, what does that look like? It's a voting on Snapshot where Worldcoin coin holders can come and vote, but these votings never get executed on any like substantial level. Imagine like you have a DAO vote that says, okay, we're gonna change the orb hardware design to be, we're gonna like make sure that it's open source and everyone can control open source. This is at least pretty good. The orb designs to be published. So yes, I think having third-party apps and the orb itself actually being community contributors to actually design the hardware itself, that's actually really important. And the last bit here, most of the infrastructure is developed by this parent company of theirs called Tools for Humanity Corp. I don't know who keeps coming up with these names, but that just sounds extremely Big Brother-like, and it's just like, why would you name yourself something like this? Worldcoin Foundation, Tools for Humanity Corp. Wow. But yeah, so all I'm trying to say here is a lot of their decentralization and DAO governance perspectives, they say this, but it's clear that they haven't done it before, and it's clear that they don't know how little DAO governance actually works in crypto today. So I think the decentralization around this complex of a global scale kind of operation is extremely hard to do. So 1,500 orbs are already out there. How are you going to change the hardware of that retroactively? They're really good at expanding this and just like hiring and doing the centralized way. But when it comes to actually creating a decentralized network out of this, I don't think it's ever going to happen, to be honest. There's too many missing pieces, too many moving pieces in the middle. Okay, so that's privacy, decentralization, and exploitation of third world country for money. So I think all three cases are going to be pretty hard to solve. Now, shifting gears, just because this coin itself and the platform is very centralized, it's very closed source, and it's dystopian, probably not that useful, doesn't mean this coin doesn't have profit abilities, right? That's completely separate, because if a coin, if Sam Altman launches a shitcoin at $1 million market cap, obviously there's still profit to be made there. So we have to separate like what we feel about the project versus like the profitability and the valuations. But let's look at the actual valuations then. So the Worldcoin is currently trading at $2.17. And here is the fully diluted market cap and the circulating market cap. So there is a total maximum supply of 10 billion Worldcoins. So that means the fully diluted market cap is $21 billion right now. To put it in perspective, if you look at some of the biggest tokens on the market today, Cardano, for example, fully diluted market cap, 14 billion. And you have BNB, fully diluted market cap, 36 billion. So Worldcoin is already worth 2/3 of BNB's FDV. That's crazy. That's 100% overvalued, extremely overvalued, right off the bat. And how is this even happening? Well, that's because only 1% or so of the token supply is circulating. So you see maximum supply is 10 billion, while the circulating supply is 100 million. So this means 99% of the tokens are still locked to be coming out on the market, either from inflation or from token rewards, from insider tokens being unlocked, whatever. And that's why the current circulating supply is only 233 million. And that's why this coin is even remotely so high in price, because so much selling pressure is still coming in the future. Now, you might look at that and say, okay, then I'm just going to go short it because this thing is going to go down 99%. That's not necessarily true right away, right? In the long term, yes. I don't think this fully diluted valuation is going to stay at 20 billion. And certainly, I don't think $2 will be a long-term fair price. I think it's going to be long-term much lower than that. But when it comes to the short term, there are a lot of nuances we need to watch. So let's get into that. So, firstly, let's look at the whole tokenomics of Worldcoin. So, 10 billion total, inflation 1.5% per year. And then I think two things are important here. Firstly, is the Worldcoin token allocations. How much is distributed among 100% among different categories? So, interestingly enough, 75% of the tokens are for the community. So this is actually very good, very healthy. But remember, all of these are locked and they're coming later when people are scanning their irises and earning this coin. So that is still inflation, albeit very slowly. And then we have 13.5% of the tokens for the investors, and then 10% or so for the development and reserve. So this is basically the team. Now, out of this 13.5%, who are their actual investors? This is another red flag that people are pointing out. So, aside from their main investors, which I think are A16Z, Coinbase, Blockchain Capital, Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF from FTX, and also Three Arrows have both invested in this project as well. And if you look on just Worldcoin raise, like how much they have raised. So Worldcoin raised roughly 115, I've seen like 130 million. So this means they raised 130 million, and out of this token allocation breakdown, 13.5%, which means these investors, SBF, Coinbase, 3AC, whatever, they invested a total of around 130 million for 13% of the total supply, which means they invested at a valuation of around $1 billion. So that means when you look at the fully diluted market cap right now, SBF and 3AC invested at 1 billion, but the fully diluted valuation is 21 billion now. So they're up 21x right away. And they invested at something like 10 cents. So that's already a lot of profit taking to be coming from these guys that are in bankruptcy, right? Now, a lot of people are going to say, okay, just look at the token unlocking schedule then. So these guys, the investors, right, they have a 1-year cliff. You see here, from launch to year 1, there isn't any tokens to be unlocked, right? So people are going to say, oh, like this removes the whole problem, right? SBF cannot sell. But what you fail to realize is that, what a lot of people fail to realize is that futures markets can be used to sell these early investor tokens by just putting on massive short positions at launch at super inflated token prices, and then closing your position once your tokens actually become unlocked. So how does that look like? And this will actually play into how I plan to short this Worldcoin. So if you look on Bybit, for example, here, this is a futures market, right? Which means you can long and you can short. And same thing on Binance. You can long, you can short. You can short like $10 million worth of this coin right now. So what a VC could do, but that invested at a much cheaper valuation, even though their coins are locked up, what they can do is they have their coins, they know they're going to get the coins unlocked in 1 year, and they see that, okay, price is up 23x, I'm in a lot of profit, but I cannot sell right now. What I can do is, as long as I have a lot more money, I can go on Binance and I can short however much amount of money that I have invested. Same amount of position, and I just put in a net short. So what happens is, as long as I don't get liquidated, right? As long as I have enough margin, I'm a big VC, I just hold this position for a year. And then once the year completes, even if price stays at this level, I'm still going to be in profit because I have so much of that, my initial investment that's up 23x. And over this year, more than likely, this price is going to go down, and I'll just take profits from the short position. So either way, I win because I have that early position invested at a much cheaper valuation. So this is how people, large VC investors, as long as they have a lot of money, they can use the short markets to essentially hedge their locked investment positions early, even when their tokens are not released yet. And this is why you cannot just say, okay, these tokens are locked, so prices are not going to go down. That's not true, right? Price can definitely go down. And it's a large reason why these coins list at such high valuations. It's because they give these VC investors an early chance to go short and short at a very high valuation. And this is the exact playbook that happened on FTX. So if you remember coins like Maps, Serum, Oxygen, like a ton of these shitcoins that launched at like $10 billion valuation, fully diluted, but very small circulating market cap. What happened was SBF and FTX, they essentially invest in the coins at super low valuation, and they only have a very little amount of tokens circulating on the day of launch. And even though their coins are all locked, they just short the coin. they list the coin at very high price, while there is a very small amount of tokens circulating initially on FTX, and then they short it, and they themselves know that it's extremely highly overinflated, and prices can only go down, and they don't even need to take profit from their initial investment. They make all the profit from the short. And this, to be honest, is very similar to the FTX playbook. It's not as bad because SBF is not the only player. There's also Binance. There's all these other guys. So I don't think this coin will go to zero, but definitely $2.17. I think it's like $2.30 now. Definitely overvalued. So that's how, you need to pay attention to this. Okay, now last bit of alpha I'll give you, right, is how do I actually time one of these shorts going into this? So looking at the price here on CoinMarketCap, no, why do I have BNB here? This one. So you see, first off, price peaked at right around 330 at launch. So usually the pattern is that, okay, it's going to launch a very high and it's going to stable out, and people are jumping in early shorts because they aren't sophisticated enough. All they see is that, okay, fully diluted valuation very high. But what they fail to realize is that market makers know this, right? So they'll play into your liquidity, and usually the first week or so, there's going to be very high volatility. And even sometimes it'll pump early, but before the actual longer term downtrend actually comes. So these $2 ranges, I think it could even continue to go up a bit. But definitely I'm going to start to target anything above $3, looking at just this initial peak here, because there's going to be a lot of price resistance. But more importantly, a better signal, a quantifiable signal to look at how the short markets are doing is with this funding rate. So here, when you go on any kind of futures market, let's say, for example, on Binance here, this is a Worldcoin futures. And you see, let me zoom into this. You see up here, there's this metric called funding. So this funding rate is a feature specifically designed for perpetual futures markets. So this is a basically interest rate that the long and short market participants need to pay each other in order to make this futures market work. And you see what it says here. If the funding rate is positive, longs pays shorts. If the funding rate is negative, shorts pay longs. So why does that exist? This exists because you see how the mark price on this futures is actually sometimes deviating from this actual market price, right? So you see on the futures market, it's trading at $2.33, while the mark price, it was at $2.34 before. So the mark price or the index price is the real price, is the spot price that trades with real Worldcoin, with the 100 million that's circulating on the market. So that is the real price. While this futures price, you see how it's like trading a little bit lower than the index price. So what this means is that on the futures market, a lot of people are betting against Worldcoin, are shorting. And when the futures price is trading lower than the index price, that's when the funding rate will be negative. And this is when, in order to short, you have to pay extra funding fees in order to have a short position. So how do I like to use this? When a coin first launches, right, what the market makers will do, knowing all of that, like FTX strats that we have said, when these market makers and these VCs need to put in short positions, what they tend to do is they will drive up the price on the spot market, which is only at $250 million. Remember this, right? While they will build their short position on the futures market, which is a much bigger market because there's a ton more liquidity, right? Because on the futures market, a lot of people are going to go short and long, and you don't have to have large amount of token unlocked in order to long and short there. So what the market makers will do is that they will drive up the price on the spot price, because this is relatively smaller coin, only at $250 million circulating valuation. And then that will naturally bring up this index price, which dictates the price that the futures market trades at. All in the meantime, there is heavy FUD right now for Worldcoin because everyone's trying to jump in shorts early. So that you can see that because funding rate is negative because the the futures market is trading at a price that is lower than the index price. So that is a clear sign that the market makers are driving out the price in the spot market while letting people build shorts in the futures market and liquidating them essentially. So basically what I'm trying to say is the typical way that I like to use funding in this scenario is that as long as the funding rate still stays negative, it means that the spot market price is probably going to continue to go up while the retails are jumping on the shorts too early. And the market makers are essentially preying on the retail that's jumping on the shorts too early, and it's going to continue to bring the spot price up and liquidating these early shorts. And that's why you see price is continuing to go up even though there's so much FUD for Worldcoin right now. So when will I try to build a short position? I will aim for when the funding rate actually becomes even, so around 0 or negative or positive. So when funding rate becomes 0, what that means is that, okay, even though people are still heavily shorting, the shorts are kind of running out of steam. And then the market makers, the early VCs, they have driven up the price so much that they are no longer driving up the spot price anymore. So the spot price is matching the futures price. And then that's usually when the real market makers, they come in and they start to build their short positions. So it's kind of a complicated strategy, but if you understand funding rates, this will make sense to you. And so this is basically how I plan to play this. So you can do this in a couple ways to get this signal. So you can just go on Binance and you can follow the funding rate. Once the funding rate becomes near 0 or even positive, that means market makers are done pumping the price in the short term, and they will probably start shorting. And while the retail crowd, they might have even flipped their bias. And that could be a time when, the early shorters, they are blown out, or they have flipped their bias and they're starting to say, oh, maybe Worldcoin is more legit than they thought because price pumped initially. So you can follow that by just looking at Binance Futures funding rate. Or if you want to be more sophisticated, you can go on a site like coinalyze.net, and you can find a real chart of the aggregated funding rate across all the exchanges. So here I have the funding rate on Binance and I have the aggregated funding rate. So you see this chart on the bottom here, this is still red, meaning funding rate is negative. So once you see this histogram start to become more towards 0 and start to be positive while the price is running up, that's when I'm going to start to build a short. Now, I would expect that to be something around the $3 range because, again, looking at the launch price, it got up above 3, but we will see. So this is the main signal I'm going to be following, which is the funding rate. So I will not be shorting as long as funding rate is hugely negative, because this shows a lot of early retail are trying to short way too early, and they'll probably end up being wrecked by the market makers. So yeah, that's how I'm going to play this. Hopefully that has been useful for you as well. All in all, long term, Worldcoin will not be $2. This is heavily, heavily undervalued. But short term, pay attention, because this market cap being so small means that market makers can drive up the price a bit more. So don't jump in shorts too early if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know how to watch funding rates, if you don't know how to watch the futures markets of what people are actually doing, and is the spot price actually still in a short-term uptrend. So long term, definitely don't hold this coin. It will go down, but short term, pay attention to your entries in the shorts. Okay,